Do you want a blog post that actually gets you results? Then don't reference what other people are doing because 99% of them are wrong. You'll waste your time writing something that people won't like and search engines will ignore. So we're gonna go over these 5 key points, my 5-step formula to creating the perfect blog post. All right, number 1, don't write like you were taught in school. It seems counterintuitive, but the reality is in school they would teach you need 4 to 5 sentences minimum per paragraph. So this is one example of something you don't wanna do. Instead, you wanna be focusing on 1 to 3 sentence paragraphs. I know it's not technically a paragraph, but before you line break and start a new sentence, maximum 3. Even that, it's pushing it, but sometimes those 3 sentences will just really go together well. So for example, in this blog post, which is kind of what I'm talking about right here, I started off with 1 sentence and then I go to another sentence, and each one of these are pretty much just 1 sentence all the way down. We have very short attention spans, and so we need to do everything we can to keep them engaged. And speaking of those sentences, you need to focus on creating short sentences. Don't worry about trying to create, long, professionally sounding sentences. Just get right to the point. That's what people want. And even with both of those 2 tricks, too much text in a row is going to lose your audience. So what you need to do is break it up. And here are a few ways that I like to do it. 1, you can use block quotes. 2, bold stuff. 3, emphasize stuff. And 4, images. You want to make sure you're bolding points that are absolutely critical or key points, especially to capture people that are just scrolling through. So right here, then don't reference what other people are doing because 99% of them are wrong. Or emphasizing here, do you want a post that actually gets you results? All right, the second key point is having a perfect structure. This is something that everybody gets wrong. I swear, most people get this wrong. So when I'm talking about structure, right here, I'm talking about the header structures. So we have an H1 right here, and then we have an H2 right here. And so following that, all the ones that are kind of siblings of this are gonna be H2. So my second idea is gonna be have the perfect structure. And then here's where a lot of people will also get it wrong. So now let's say my post is called the 5 tips to write the perfect blog post. And then say in here, my first paragraph is the importance of a perfect post. That's an H2. Now what you can't do is jump down to another H2. The reason for that is these 3 aren't really siblings. These ones, 1 and 2, are very similar topics, but this one kind of falls out of order. And so in this case, if I wanted to just, write a paragraph here, I would create this title that actually captures these guys, and then I would need to change these to H3s because now they're children of the one above it. So really pay attention of your headers. H2s belong in H1s, H3s belong in H2s, but beyond that, you need to make sure that the ones that are grouped together actually belong together. Number 3, this is one of my favorite ones. You need to consider your audience, but specifically their problems and desires. So let's look at this post and the way I started this video. Do you want a post that actually gets you results? Well, that's speaking to both their problems and desires. And then I go on with the next sentence to kind of exacerbate their fears a little bit. Then don't reference what other people are doing because 99% of them are wrong. And then it makes you go, whoa, wait, what's going on here? I really need to focus on this. And so focusing on their problems and desires throughout the blog post, but specifically at the intro, are gonna help you out a lot. Also, what the audience wants is an answer. And so right in the beginning of this blog post, I actually go over the 5 key points that we're gonna talk about in this post, and then I'm gonna go into them in more depth later. Unlike a YouTube video where your goal is to have the audience, remain in the video as long as possible, a blog post, you really just need to make sure they're getting their answer. And if you have to give that to them in the start of the post, then go for it, because if they have to dig too hard, they're gonna leave and go to somebody else's blog post, which you do not want to happen. And speaking of the audience leaving your blog post, let's go on to number 4, creating a comprehensive yet focused blog post. You need to make sure that all of the information is present on that post. You don't want them getting some of it and then having to leave to go to a different blog post to answer their questions. That's gonna be, a bad user experience and a signal to Google that your post isn't comprehensive. Now, it's not for sure that they use that as a ranking signal, but it's just a theory. But in some cases, you can't have everything in one blog post. So if you do have a topic that's similar, but not exactly aligned with your current blog post, write a post about it and link to it. And that's another thing that you want to be doing, is linking to stuff that's actually relevant in your blog post. You can tell if you've ever been to a blog where you start clicking on their links and you're like, oh wow, this stuff's actually useful. And then other times they just kind of send you to something that's rather generic and it's like, okay, I don't know why this was there. Make sure it's actually relevant. And number 5, your audience expects you to be actually knowledgeable in the subject. Ideally you have firsthand experience. I wouldn't be talking with you about writing a blog post if I didn't have success myself writing blog posts. These are actual things that I do to create perfect blog posts that actually get me results, that turn revenue, that turn leads. This is especially important for topics that do require you to have firsthand experience or that takes a lot of depth to understand them. The audience will be able to tell if you are experienced sentence in the subject, and so will Google. Quick note, I'm writing in Notion right now. It's a great tool for documentation, writing blog posts, and managing like your tasks. I just started using it and I'm loving it, so if you like what you see here and you want to use it, check out Notion. Now in this video, I mentioned that there are some signals that I'm not sure if Google uses or not, and I like to be transparent about that because a lot of times you come across SEO information that just isn't accurate, or people say it is, but then there's nothing to back it up. It's important to see through a lot of the BS out there and know what to trust and what not to trust. So check out this video where I go over top SEO myths and I debunk them.